Welcome back to another video on my channel. Today I wanted to talk about a specific marketing tactic that was brought to my attention on my last video talking about Miss Audra Winters. I just wanted to address it because in that video I talked about how effective her marketing was, and it truly was effective. But I think in that video, because I was talking off the cuff, I kept saying how good it was instead of the word effective. And there were people in my comment sections correcting me and saying that yes, it might have been effective, but she engaged in something called pity marketing, which is like disingenuous and might harm her over the long run. So I just want to talk about pity marketing specifically because I don't disagree with these folks, and I'm glad they brought it up in my comment sections. It prompted me to make a brand new video about this. Hello. So I just want to talk about pity marketing. What is that, and why do so many authors engage with pity marketing? So if you're interested in all that, just keep on watching. Okay, so like I said, my audience did a little bit of a call-in for me and was like, Cassidy, this is like legit pity marketing. This might not be the best thing to tell people that that's a good thing. And I agree. So I just kind of want to talk about that real quick. Sorry, my hair is crazy. I'm about to go get a haircut today, which I will post pics of later. But yeah, anyway, let's talk about pity marketing. Pity marketing is a manipulative tactic. I'm reading something off screen, so that's why I'm looking down. A manipulative tactic that uses exaggerated displays of hardship or failure to invoke sympathy, gain attention, and drive sales, often by fabricating or embellishing stories of struggle to create emotional appeal. AKA, marketers or people running small businesses often use sob stories to gain attention. This might involve a viral video of a staged empty book signing or claiming that a book was unfairly banned, even when there's no evidence of this. Why is this a thing? I have my own opinions about why this is the thing and why it started. Just in my own observations, this is all my opinion. Just no facts, my opinion here. I think this started with platforms like TikTok, or pretty much just TikTok. I think TikTok's algorithm does a great job of raising awareness to certain issues. And because of their creator fund or the opportunity to tag products and stores to get more views, some people use that as a way of like getting a cause out there, or if they went under financial hardships, like to get the message out to receive mutual aid. Those things are valid, and I think we saw a lot of those. I mean, we still see a lot of those recently, but because of politics and everything else. But I think this really took off like during the pandemic and post-pandemic. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of people faced financial hardship during the pandemic and after the pandemic. You know, people were losing their loved ones left and right. People were losing their jobs left and right. People were losing their income and might have had issues of like maintaining their lifestyle or paying for their home, taking care of their children, all sorts of things. So it does not surprise me that there was an increase in content of people going to TikTok and being like, look, you know, I have X amount of time before my lease is up. I really need to find a place to stay. Can you help me out with this X fund? Like, you can go donate to my Venmo, Linktree, whatever. And I'm not discrediting those whatsoever. I know there's people who are very critical of that. I don't necessarily feel the same way, but that's a whole other topic for a whole other day. So that's how it started. And then you can take another version of that, and like what's going on in Gaza right now. A lot of people are trying to raise funds to get people out. And so they'll say like, okay, if you just comment like a bunch of stuff about the product I'm tagging in this video, and then we can use the funds from this video to pay for somebody's medical bill, somebody's evacuations, you know. And I think this is only exacerbated because there's so much hardship going on in the world right now, like genuine hardship. I mean, people are trying to flee certain states because their policies don't really support their lifestyle, you know. It's hard, it's rough out here, and I'm not discrediting that whatsoever. I think people saw that and saw how much engagement those kinds of videos were getting, and they decided, oh, I could do the same things for my products, which is where things get dicey. So I think that is like the predecessor to pity marketing, and now pity marketing has become this thing where people will be like, oh my god, nobody showed up to my book signing, oh my gosh, I'm sad. And then people would empathize with those feelings because everybody's had disappointments in their lives, or, you know, bad days, and they're like, don't worry, king, I got you, don't worry, queen, I got you. And then they generate book sales that way, right? If you're doing this repeatedly, this becomes a tactic of like emotional manipulation. This whole thing, I think, exemplifies like Audra Winter's marketing, because initially she did, prior to the CEO girl bossness of it all, she did try to sell herself more on like petty marketing, being like, oh well, this is my dream and nobody's supporting my dream type thing. I know I didn't talk about this in my video because for me this is kind of like an irrelevant thing, but some people are really bringing up the fact that she had a Kickstarter to try to fund a therapy dog for her. That's none of my business. I don't think that's a lot of our business, but people are using that as an example of how she knows how to, utilize emotions in her own suffering for personal gain. I don't want to touch that, but I do agree with the previous part of, she had one marketing strategy going in that was pity marketing, trying to sell her book and trying to make people feel bad for her as a struggling artist, and then switching, once she got attention, switching to, I'm a 6-figure business owner, I'm successful, and my product will be successful too. But she's not the only author to do this. I've seen many an author, primarily on TikTok again, where they have some sort of grievance or issue going on and they capitalize on that to try to sell more books. The book banning argument is always very, very interesting to me, because like half the time, or maybe more than half the time, it's just people kind of getting canceled for having maybe controversial takes in their books. People collectively choosing not to buy your book is not the same as like actual book banning, where governments or bodies are trying to like regulate the availability of your book based on its content. Customer opinions and the choice of not whether or not to buy something is not the same thing as like a legal ban. So just want to put that out there. But I've seen many an author use that as a way to garnish sympathy. Granted, like some shit like actually happens like to people, and bad shit happens to people, and if you need like a one-time thing, like if you're an author and you're venting about something that happened to you, or I don't know, that's fine. The problem is like when it becomes a choice, right, where you're continuously sharing these stories or trying to elicit like empathy from your readers, and it gets to the point where people kind of have enough. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't really a sustainable thing, because the idea is, oh, I'm going to support you through this specific hardship, right? And there are things that are beyond our control that happen to us in life, and that is totally fine to ask for help and support in those moments. But then when it develops into a pattern of behavior, it's kind of like your fault, friend. You know what I mean? If you keep running into these issues, then maybe we need to do some self-reflection, friend, And I'm not just saying that as like my opinion, but that's like kind of like how it feels. It's almost like the boy who cried wolf type attitude, where if your viewers or your readers are continuously seeing you trying to invoke empathy because your car is gone, your house is gone, your things are gone, like every other week, people kind of get suspicious and they don't really trust you anymore, because they're like, wait, how, what, why? Like, I just helped you through this thing. What happened to the money I just gave you? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's something that over time isn't the most sustainable option for marketing. And it's something that can also damage your reputation, right? The backlash from being caught in a lie can be severe, tarnishing the makers or marketers' credibility and leading a negative word of mouth that can be difficult to recover from. They talk about specifically lying about hardships, and again, we've seen many a TikTok influencer or influencers in general lying about things like that. I think it's also important to note, I'm going to talk about TikTok again. I know this is a very TikTok specific video, but I really, really believe that this culture kind of started on TikTok. If you don't agree with me and you think it started elsewhere, feel free to leave that in the comments down below. But I am blaming TikTok. So there's also a thing in like TikTok's algorithm where a lot of these like really, really, we assume to be wealthy influencers just because of how well known they are, and like the fact that they've been influencers for a while, like Jeffree Star and Jason Nash. They are not the best people morally. I'm not advocating for them. I'm not encouraging you to watch them. But something they do on TikTok is like they go live and then they kind of like beg for emojis and stuff, and these emojis or icons are things that can be purchased during the live. So they'll be like, oh yeah, a rose, like buying a rose I think is the cheapest one, but they have these like filters you can buy that go over people's faces and stuff. You can go on a live stream and just essentially just beg people to send you stuff if you really want to. Like, the idea of that is like kind of like what we do on YouTube when you do memberships or when you do a like live stream or something. Like, people can send you money, but it's like a way of encouraging the creator because you enjoy their content, right? This is very common for people who like stream video games or something, right? You know, people are actively playing a video game, it's entertaining, they're cracking jokes or whatever. Somebody might send them $1 or more and just be like, hey, I like what you're doing, keep it up, right? That's fine because you're essentially just tipping for a service, you know? But it becomes something different when you literally just go on a live and you're not really doing anything else besides talking shit and like begging people to give you money, which is something that some of these creators be doing. And I'm not intending to throw shade. If it sounds like shade, then but but that happens. And there's also this thing on TikTok where you do battles. Again, I don't participate in any of this stuff because I don't post on TikTok. I am a professional lurker on TikTok. I just watch things and send funny memes to my friends. Every now and then I post static images of the stuff that I be posting on here and Instagram, but anywho, they have battles. So what you can do is go live with another creator and then your fan base will send you money to boost your numbers, and then like whoever has the most money sent to them wins the battle. I don't really know how that works in terms of like, do you get more visibility the more people give you money, like for new audience members, or is it just like a thing to earn additional income? I don't know, but they do battles too. So TikTok does have this culture of encouraging its viewers to give creators money directly, whether it's for charity purposes or just like to give money straight to the pockets of people who are wealthier than you. I don't know. I don't get it. Okay, that's kind of like the essence of pity marketing. And again, I feel like if you were that kind of person and you wanted to do some pity marketing, then the most effective strategy would be to maybe do it once or twice to get your stuff up there. But when you continuously have the same sob stories over and over again, that's when you like don't have trust with your readers anymore, or things kind of, you know, get a little muddy. Likewise, you know, if you're building a brand off of this stuff, then that might be misleading to people who want to invest in you. So say you gain like more viewership because of some horrible thing that happened to you, right? And you're continuing to feed into like, oh, my life is sad, I got X, Y, and Z going on. Okay. If you want to get to a point where you're going to do brand deals or do other stuff, your metrics might not be accurate for people who want to invest in you, because this is something that's contingent on specific events in your life. People aren't necessarily following you because you have something to offer. They're following you because they feel like they have this moral obligation to, if that makes sense. Yeah, so then that might affect how, like, you getting partnerships with other creators, or you know, you getting brand deals, or you doing whatever. If your goal is to like actually become an influencer or whatever, if your goal is to sell books, that might affect how, like, if you constantly engage in putting marketing to sell your book, that might affect, like, if you decide you want to have this book get picked up and traditionally published, the publishers might see this initial spark, be like, hey, this person's really popular, look at their numbers, that's great. But then the product itself might be lacking, right? In Miss Audra Winter's case, the product was lacking. But then, yeah, the book might not be that good, and it gets picked up by a traditional publisher, and then they like effectively lose sales because the readers that pick up the book because it's published by like Penguin Random House or something are effectively very disappointed when they see that's like what. And I that's a whole other issue about like the book talk influence on the publishing industry, which is something I kind of did a video on a while back. I haven't watched it in a long time, so I can't say if I still agree with everything I said in that video, but I did talk about the TikTokification of books. But at the time I was pretty sympathetic, and I thought, you know, this is democracy. People are allowed to make bad art if they want to. People are allowed to read bad art if they want to. That's well within their right. But yeah, it's just it's this social media manipulation, influencers manipulation of their audience and their emotions, and then like the icky capitalism part that like people want to profit off of manufactured suffering. That's kind of like not the best, right? So yeah, so those are all the reasons that pity marketing kind of sucks. I'm not telling you what to do, but I kind of am. So here are some alternatives for marketing if you want to market your books or whatever it is, or ways to really like try to engage an audience better. And again, I'm a small channel. I literally just got monetized, you guys. Woo, claps for me. I got monetized today. Yay. So I'm new in this space, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But there are some things you can do that like helps sell your books or helps people want to actually follow you, or you know, or people who enjoy your presence in general. These are things that you can do to try to make yourself more sellable, I guess. So the first thing is to literally just kind of be like, you can still be transparent, but you have to do it in like an authentic way, right? Like, I'm no stranger to talking about like my mental health on this channel and other things like that. And you can talk about your mental health in a way that's not like manipulative or like a woe is me type way, right? Like, for me, I'm very open about having a mood disorder, and I'm just kind of very matter of fact about it. And it does affect my productivity in my day-to-day life. You know, it does affect the way I see the world. It does affect my writing in a way. And if you want like a video specifically about that, I'll put it out there, girl. I don't mind. You know, it might help other people who are neurodivergent, right? But I'm not like saying that like, oh my God, you know, I don't, this sucks. This is so hard, and like crying in a corner, which again, some people might feel that way, and it's okay to feel that way. And at times I have felt that way, but I'm not exposing that to my audience because, one, I'm too proud for that shit. I'm gonna be so for real. I'm a very vain and proud person. I won't cry on camera. I just won't. That might work for some folks, but it's not gonna work for me. No. But yeah, but like, again, being vulnerable and being a mess are two different things. And I think people kind of forget that. There's a way to be vulnerable and be like, yeah, this is who I am, hello, and be honest. And then there's another thing where you're just kind of like a hot mess. And there's certain people you can be a hot mess around, like your friends or family or support system. But that support system shouldn't always be like every single person on the internet. And that's a whole other video in itself too. Look at us coming up with all these video ideas. Whoa. About how maybe because of this loneliness epidemic, people are turning to the internet as their support system, and like what are the psychological and sociological implications of that. So interesting. But yeah, this, again, my opinion. You also want to focus more on like what value you can bring to your customers, to your viewers, to your subscribers, all that. Like, what value do you bring? This is something that I'm currently learning now in this moment. So I kind of talked about this in my live stream the other day, where I was thinking about like, okay, if people want to actually like do super chats or like pay for memberships and stuff, like what would incentivize them to do that? I don't want to just beg people to sign up for this stuff and give me money, right? So my idea for that was to offer for my members or for the higher tier members a weekly co-working live stream where we work on projects communally, like writing projects. So I'll be working on my stuff at the same time you guys are working on yours, and maybe we can chat about like certain challenges we're having and maybe workshop ideas on how to get through them, celebrating each other's wins. Or, you know, it might be a good opportunity if the chat is small for people to get direct feedback from me. I am a writer, I'm an author, and I've been publishing independently for a couple years now. So it might be good for somebody who doesn't have that experience to be able to ask very specific questions directly from somebody who's kind of been through it. You know what I mean? So that was like, okay, that's the value I can bring to this conversations. And likewise with my YouTube video, I had to start recognizing what does well and what doesn't. And truthfully, you know, as much as I love making vlogs about my life, they don't necessarily do well. That's fine. People aren't engaged with me as a person, but the people who watch my channel are more likely to watch because A, I'm spilling tea with life lessons, okay? I don't just spill tea to spill tea, okay? I try to analyze the situation and see what we can learn from it. So there's that, book tea. And then the other thing I do is every now and then I'll make videos like this or videos about writing advice in general that tend to do well too, because a lot of people do want to write, or they are currently writing, or they are authors who might be looking for different perspectives. And that's something I can value, right? Because I've had certain experiences. Again, I'm not the end all be all, but I've had certain experiences that, you know, I think I could share with other people. Fun fact, I used to teach not like little ones, but I was a TA in grad school for a while, and I taught, or I helped teach at the collegiate level. So I'm very used to communicating big ideas in a way that's like approachable for young people. And I think that's a skill set that I have that maybe other authors don't. And so that's something that I can use to differentiate myself between other authors, because writing books and talking about books are two different skill sets, right? Reviewers probably talk about their books differently than authors do. And then likewise, teaching and writing are two different skill sets. Yeah, there's like college professors who do both, and snaps for them. That's where I want to be one day. But you know, communicating information is a skill set in itself, and I, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I can do that pretty effectively. So that's something that I can bring to this channel. So that's where my value is, right? I am learning that actively right now. So instead of focusing more on hardships, maybe think about like, what do you offer? Like, what can you bring to the table? What do you offer your community? What can you offer the general public, right? And yeah, just focus on that instead. In terms of effective marketing for books, it always helps to advertise your book in a way that is engaging. So that might be like, does your cover kick ass, right? Is it beautiful? Is it attention grabbing? Does it stand out? One of the things that made one of my books stand out, even though it's a horror anthology, is how bright pink it is. You know what I mean? People love this cover. I get compliments on it all the time. This is my short story collection, and it's very nostalgic horror, like Y2K centered and focused on technology at the time. And like, this cover communicates all of that in a vibe, right? So having your cover really encapsulate a vibe, or just being beautiful in a general sense, could really help. And like posting that online. Likewise, if I need to get better at this part, where you post blurbs from your story, from your book, and maybe it's a bit of dialogue, maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's a description that really stands out to you, and you're like, damn, this sounds good. Just posting that blurb online in like a little text box is effective too, right? People are really like, wow, that was really moving. I want to read that now. Especially if you're writing, ideally your writing is good enough to be broken down and shared with others. So yeah, that's also a good strategy. And then like another thing, kind of hitting back at what I was talking about before, is talking to your audience with genuine empathy and compassion versus trying to manipulate them, right? I think this might be an issue, like an interpersonal issue, not just like a marketing issue. Again, time for a whole other video, right? But your goal with connecting to others shouldn't be like, how can I manipulate them and get what I want out of them or get the most out of them? It should be, how can I like legit form a genuine connection with this person, right? And not everybody is going to resonate with you, and you're not going to resonate with everybody. Like, that's just the thing. And I know there's people who don't like me, and there's some people that I probably just won't like, period, and that's totally fine. But I mean, like, you should still try to strive to be like authentic and kind, and that's just a natural way to attract people. You know, I think for me, when I see this play out a lot when I go to vending conventions or vending events where I'm selling books in person with people, I am really thankful for having somewhat of a sales background. Like, I worked in retail forever, girl. I worked in retail from 16 to probably 23 years old, on and off, you know, because I had school and I would work summers at different retail places. Retail is hell, I'll tell you that. Oh my god. But I know how to have the interpersonal skills and customer service skills. But beyond that, I know how to connect with somebody and connect with a stranger right away. And like, yeah, the company wants you to do it in like a manipulative way so people buy jeans. but when you're selling, it's not so much like shoving your book in someone's face and being like, hey, read this. But it's more about like how you communicate your ideas, how you present yourself, and how you show off your personality, right? And I'm someone who can, like, for vending events, something I always do is that I never sit down, which sucks because I get really tired. But I try not to sit down because I think it's really important to meet people at eye level. So if you're sitting down and somebody's standing on top of you, right, the communication can't be flowing, right? It like subconsciously it can't. So when you're meeting somebody at eye level or at close to eye level, right, that is going to feel more interpersonal, like making eye contact and reacting to what people are saying, genuinely listening to what somebody's saying and responding. You have no idea how far that goes, because some people will literally just sit there in like awkward silence, and people will touch the books and then they wait for somebody to ask them a question. I'm always like, hi, I like your outfit. Or like, hey, that's a cool t-shirt. Or I'm like, hi, how you doing? How's your day going? You know. And sometimes maybe that's off-putting for people, but you know, I just think that people don't do that nowadays. Not even at selling events, right? But people don't do that in general. They don't know how to have like small talk. And I know some people hate small talk, and it can be annoying, but like it's the lubrication to the actual deep conversations. You know what I mean? So sometimes with the strangers, you have to lubricate your way into the conversation that you want to have. You know, you got to do the little foreplay. And I'm sorry to make this like a sexual thing, but like that's the best analogy. Like sometimes there needs to be foreplay in conversations. Sometimes you can't just blurt out, "Here, has my book." You know, and also people like being complimented. People like having a mutual connection. You know, when I was at a horror specific selling events, I already have that mutual connection because I assume everybody who's there reads horror books. So it's something we have in common already. That's great. You really want to look for commonality. You want to put yourself out there authentically, so people can gravitate if they're like similar to you. But also like you have to treat people well. You know, you have to be empathetic and compassionate and kind and a good listener, and just not somebody who sees yourself as like above your audience. You know what I mean? And like even with pity marketing, even though it's very woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, there is a degree of entitlement there where you think that you are entitled to something that your audience has, and you're like trying to take it from them. Like it's really weird. So those are all the reasons that like pity marketing doesn't really like, I don't really jive with it. I just haven't, and I haven't talked about this yet on my channel, but these are just like, again, all my opinions on it. And yeah, like I said, Miss Audra Winters, hey, she got more attention than I ever did, right? She did the pity marketing, she did the girl boss thing, and that in tandem really, really pushed her book out to sales, and she sold more pre-orders than I ever have. So props to you. The ramifications of that is that now people are kind of like turning on her on a bit just because she, you know, really, really hyped herself up. She went from like a very, very low to very, very high, and she hyped herself up, and then her book afterwards was not what was being promised. So a little self-awareness goes a long way. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I had a joke in my head when I said that, from the low to high, because I'm like, bipolar disorder. See, that's me making a joke about something that it could be a negative impact on my life, but I'm doing it in a type of way. I'm not doing it in a like, oh, I'm sad type of way. So I'm sorry if I come off as insensitive in this video. I'm really trying to be like compassionate, empathetic, and tread lightly, because again, like I'm trying to treat a lot of situations with like nuance. Like I totally understand why somebody might need something in the moment and they don't have a support network, and they might need something in the moment. That is a completely different situation than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who aren't in a state of need, who continuously, I don't know, like just like trauma dump, I guess, on their audience and unsuspecting viewers on TikTok and the internet, and then are expecting some sort of reward for doing so. So those situations are totally different. Let me know how you feel about that. Please let me know if you agree with me. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments down below. Again, I try my best to engage with comments as I see them. And, you know, I do appreciate feedback, because then again, I can address it in further videos. So that's great. If you liked it, leave a like, comment down below, share this video with a friend, or subscribe to my channel. Please, please, please. That would help me out a lot. If you are interested in memberships, I just opened them up. You can do two different tiers. I have my Pollen Puffs, which is like a basic tier that includes membership badges, custom emojis, and member shoutouts at the end of my videos. And then I also have a more advanced tier, which is my writer buddies, and those members get everything plus the co-working live streams that I was talking about in this video. So if you're interested in that, you could always sign up. Again, not obligated to at all. It's just a little extra thing that might help me out and help me provide extra services for you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, okay? Thanks. Bye.